What set them off when you dropped them in there? Was there a pin on the bottom?
There's a firing pin on the bottom.
Okay.
And the bottom of the mortar round was basically blunt cut.
Mm-hmm.
And it had some sealing rings that would expand when the powder went off, and the pressure would make them expand out.
Cause the cup pressure.
Seal to the ring grooves,
Yeah.
or the grooves in the barrel. And there's one pack of powder about the size of a good sized donut, and then a whole bunch of layers of plastic explosive.
Ooh.
And those would be slit one, and there'd be on a 1-inch diameter extension that contained the fuse or primer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be like half-dried sandwich cheese slices. They're a little yellow plastic.
Really?
And when the round comes in, they're all fully charged for their maximum. And we get a call to, say, a charge of 45.3 and tear off all but enough to make 45.
Really?
Throw them in a box.
What?
All the excess, just throw them in a box, and at the end, we're all done. We'd put them out in the
Blow it
ground
up.
and light them.
Really?
They'd go fizzle and spray and jump around sometimes like fireworks.
And those things would be that would make it so how far it would go, how
Yeah.
far it would shoot.
Change the gun elevation and the charge would determine the range.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't supposed to be able to fire self-defense because they had a minimum range. You weren't supposed to go below that 900 elevation and not below this minimum charge of 10, I think it was.
So
Just to protect you guys.
Well, they had to have a certain amount of
Cup pressure to get out of there.
pressure to get out and to prime the fuse.
Yeah.
The fuse depended on that shock to arm it.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have enough shock, it might not be armed. We still fired self-defense on 2 different times.
what do you mean by fired self-defense? When
They
a
couldn't- they
unit
couldn't-
was getting
they
too
couldn't-
close to you?
Yeah, we
It
were
was-
under attack, and you weren't supposed to be able to fire close enough to hit where
Oh, really?
the enemy was, because of that minimum charge, minimum elevation. Well, we just started playing.
You figured out how to do it.
Well, we set up the minimum. Okay, we're still 100 yards off. Let's crank the gun up a
In
few
the air
degrees
more.
higher, or take maybe 2 charges more than we're supposed to.
Play with it until you got it right.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, so I
you just
suppose-
walked them in,
Yeah.
and you could tell where they were going to land, and if they went off, they were good. No, they always did. Those 2 occasions, they always went off.
Yeah. When those 2 occasions were when you were under the heaviest fire then during the time you were over there?
That was when they were the closest, probably.
Mm.
I was kind of lucky, though. Our platoon only had 2 guys wounded bad enough to get sent home,
Oh,
and 3 more had minor shrapnel wounds. They went to a hospital for about a week, 5 days, and that came back.
came back to do full duty.
What surprised me, we never heard the condition of those 2 guys that were sent away. I don't know why they didn't come with some feedback. Because I imagine everybody wants to know the condition of the ones that are
Yeah.
sent to a hospital.
So how many guys did you actually go to Vietnam with that were there the same duration that you were? I mean, was there guys? Nobody?
You went to, well, I mean, you went as a
As a group?
plane load, and you got to Tonsanut Air Base. Went anywhere and everywhere. Not even the same division, not even
Really?
the same company or
I
anything.
guess I was under the understanding that you sent all these guys to basic training together. They got to know each other. They learned how to work well together, and then those were the guys that went to war together, so that they would
That only happened
in movies.
in in World War II, before they were fully built up, or in Korea or wherever. That happened before the war really got started, or as it was just ramping up.
Oh, really?
After that, they were all just replacements.
Really? Huh. So were there any guys over there that you got to know fairly well, though? I mean, that you spent quite a duration with?
Yeah, there was a 4 or 5 that we all hung around together for the most part. And
You keep in touch with anyone?
one was called Runt Minor and 7 Up. And so I can't think of any. Oh, Preacher was another nickname.
What was your nickname?
I didn't have one.
You didn't have a nickname?
No,
What, were you the soft-spoken, quiet, shy one?
I don't know. Well, the best part though was when we get a fire mission and had a patrol that was in a fight. And we usually broke it up.
Oh, yeah?
You know, you got a 25-pound or 27-pound explosive shell. That usually discourages the enemy after just a few rounds.
So how fast were you able to shoot rounds? I mean, once you shot one out of your mortar gun...
If they wanted to shoot a bunch, you know, let's say they walked us in and said fire for effect. I would say we could shoot at least 4 a minute. Because you drop, depends on how accurate they wanted to be. You could drop 2 or 3 right in a row, or you could drop around, put the sight back on the gun. Oh, we'd have to take the sight off because the shock would destroy the sight in no time. Put the sight back on, readjust it so it's aiming at the aiming stakes and shoot it again for better accuracy. Doing it that way, we could probably shoot about 4 a minute.
So fire for effect, is that just basically like warning shots then?
No, it's...
What's that mean?
They'd walk us in, usually with one gun, one mortar, and then the other 3, we had 4 in our platoon. The other 3 might be just waiting, and then when they say fire for effect, 4 rounds per gun, all 4 guns would shoot 4 rounds as quick as they could.
Oh, really?
You know, whoever's the forward observer would tell us, you know, how many rounds they wanted when they were doing the final fire for effect.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Now, how many guys did it take to operate one?
At least 2. There were supposed to be 5, but we hardly ever had 5.
Really?
4 sometimes.
Wow.
No, in fact, I think there were supposed to be 6. We were never up to strength.
I'm just intrigued by all of it. I've never had the chance to visit with you about all of your stories.
Yeah.
So what was the biggest round you ever shot off then?
Well, they're all the same. There's just a high explosive white phosphorus or illumination round.
White phosphorus. That's not... What's that stuff they put in the campfire that burns really
Magnesium.
white? Oh, nothing similar. Then.
Well, white phosphorus is something like magnesium, only I think it's hotter and it's pretty near impossible to put out. It
Really?
burn underwater.
Yeah, that's why they use magnesium. They
Underwater
weld
welding?
weld underwater with magnesium because the water won't put it out.
Really?
Yeah, I've got a couple of parachutes from the illumination rounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if we're shooting them for our own illumination, there's some snipers or sappers, somebody in the wire, we'd shoot into the wind.
So they'd float.
So they'd stay over the fire base
Yeah.
until they burned out. Well, sometimes they'd burn out and land in the fire base. We'd grab one.
What? They must have been timed then?
Yeah, you'd set the time that the fuse would ignite the flare.
Yeah.